Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another Mindcraft discussion here on this beautiful day. Here in northern Vermont, it is still November, and the sun is shining, but there's a lot of sort of gray. I mean, it looks like November, I suppose. It's been unseasonably warm, so it is what it is. It is absolutely fabulous out and a great day for a podcast, that's for sure. So, my name is Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and I am elated to have all of you in my living room right now today to have this talk on prosperity. So, I first want to say that, we hear it a lot. You see it on magnets and bumper stickers and everything else. Mindset is everything, right? So, we talk about all different types of mindsets, growth mindset and fixed mindset. Now, those can overlap into what we're talking about. And mindset really is everything because the mind, right? The thoughts come first, feelings second, then actions or behaviors last. That's just how it works. And so, if we're going to feel prosperous, which leads to prosperity actually manifesting and happening in our lives, we have to first think prosperous thoughts. That's just how it works. That's the neurological truth. And, a lot of people get caught up in saying these things are touchy feely and this and that. No, I'm talking about neurons. My doctorate's in cognitive psychology, and I could talk about neurons all day long and not have one bored second. And then many of you who are sort of devoted listeners, let's say that, and thank you for that, know that I have a pet peeve with other influencers when they say based on neuroscience. And there's one in particular who kind of annoys me. I mean, she's got really great, she offers a lot of good nuggets and everything, but there's a pretty frequent theme of based on neuroscience, and then there's nothing to back it up. So you're kind of like waiting, waiting, waiting. So that isn't the case here. So with prosperity, we're talking about training the neurons. Neurons are like 2-year-old just toddlers, and they need constant direction in order to know what to do. And this is also why separate but rolls in my Minecrafters in my in-person Minecraft class and actually the online class. Um, why we do the gratitude journal every single day, not just class days, with I am grateful for, I am grateful for, I am grateful for, because the words I am grateful for repeated, not just my family, my dog, my partner, whatever. We have to say I am grateful for, because otherwise the pattern is not being imprinted, being programmed into the hard drive. We need to have the same going on for the pattern to work. So with the prosperity mindset, we are doing something similar because we are thinking prosperous thoughts in order to lead to the feeling of prosperity, in order to then attract more. And this is a real life thing we're talking about. Thoughts, feelings, actions. We've got to think prosperity thoughts, then feel it as if it's already happened. That is the clincher. You hear lots of people talking about this. Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks. There's this Oprah. There's so many people talking. Joe Dispenza. He's a good one. He's way into neuroscience. I'm crazy about him too. And we got to, because the brain does not know the difference from a feeling that we have worked into our hard drive and something that's going on outside of it. Does not know the difference. And the brain loves patterns. So what we train it to do is then going to look for more of. So it's important to realize, right out of the gate, that life, this big, wonderful universe we're all a part of, life is not like a pizza or cake in the sense that if we take an extra piece, this will take away from somebody else. Like if we're at a party and everybody had one, and maybe there's only two pizzas, and it's not that maybe there's, I don't know, 2 dozen people, and not everybody got two, a couple people had two. Well, we don't go and take a third because that wouldn't be polite in that concrete, tangible situation. But the universe is not like that. There's no limit to pieces because there's no limit to pizzas. If we have, 59 pizzas, there's just infinite number left over. So a lot of people get wrapped up in the guilt that if I'm prosperous, if I have, the house, the kids, the bank account, the savings account, the cars, the travel, the whatever that's taking away from someone else, and that just is not so. It is not so. The abundance out there in the universe is absolutely infinite, and what this means is that there's literally no end to the good things that can land in our laps. You know, sort of, unfortunately, or however you want to say, many of us are walking around out there just, zoned out on autopilot day after day, and without this concept anywhere near our conscious thinking. It's absolutely tragic. And even worse, we've often developed, sort of prosperity blockers. I picture roadblocks like in the road, keeping you from this and from that, of which we are also unaware. So if and I wrote an article for Psychology Today a while back, actually. So I'm kind of revisiting that today in case I have to cite myself because that's all we're talking about here. But just in case, so one of the first things is believing that there's so much goodness to go around that we um, the first of these, sorry, is believing that there's only so much goodness to go around. We mustn't be greedy. That guilt feeling that we're taking away from somehow taking away from other people if we're if we're crushing it out there, and that is just not true. We can all crush it. All 8 billion of us can crush it. It's possible, and it's just infinite, infinite, infinite. So after all, we often think that having more than others is bad. Having more than others is bad, the thing is, Wayne Dyer says this a lot. I'm pretty sure Oprah says it too. Abraham Hicks definitely says it. Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks definitely both say this, that when we get wrapped up in that sort of thinking, just remember that, let's say somebody doesn't have enough money or enough, we can get a plan together and help out, do humanitarian deeds. Absolutely. We can, donate and help out at food shelves, and list goes on, all the good acts we can do. And that's super important. It's just that is sort of, having an action plan with helping people is different than sort of just making ourselves feel badly because we just got that second car, or we just got an addition put on the house, or we just got, because it is literally impossible for us to feel badly enough to make somebody else who's financially strapped, or maybe even poverty stricken, to feel guilty enough to make them wealthy. That isn't going to happen. It's not going to make them wealthy. It's not going to change a thing. We cannot feel badly enough, feel guilty enough, feel whatever enough, whatever the negative emotion is, to make somebody who's sick be healthy. That's just impossible. So we're talking about getting a plan together to do a humanitarian act, great. But all that guilting ourselves over our own abundance is ridiculous, because taking away from us does not add to somebody else. It just doesn't. So, okay, so next, many people underneath it all, this is really important, do not feel worthy of good things happening. It's interesting. I was just doing a self-care talk Thursday of this week, for student affairs crew, actually at Champlain where I teach, and I've done it a lot of places, all over the place. I've done it for faculty and staff, and I've done it for student leaders, which includes RAs. I've just done it for so many the times that it's such in demand. And the thing is, the self-care talk, what we're talking about now with prosperity, this is a similar thread, or a common denominator, as people like to say, is when we don't feel we're worthy of good things, guess what's not coming? Good things are not coming if you don't feel you deserve them. That you just stop right here, because the rest of what we're going to talk about is kind of like trying to build a house when there's no foundation. The foundation is worthiness, and if the worthiness foundation is not there, then the building of the house is going to have to wait, because there isn't anything for the four walls, the roof, to stand on if there's no foundation, which is similar to what I say in the self-care talk, because we can't take care of ourselves we don't value. And so we got to go backwards and do that work first before we start, adding, all these self-care regimens, which they might work for a little while, but they're not going to stick. The fitness regimen, the skincare regimen, the nutritional regimen, they'll work for a short while, and then they're just not going to stay, because the same thing, the foundation of worthiness is not there first. In order to be prosperous, you got to believe you're worthy of prosperity, plain and simple. So then I say here in the Psychology Today article, that even if the universe tosses these people with a generous gift, they will often find an unconscious way to refuse it. So a lot of people aren't even aware that they're sending the message out that they don't deserve it because it's so buried within the unconscious mind. It's in the vault. So this creates a vicious cycle, as this perpetual focus on lack will attract more lack. This is how it works. And again, Abraham says it, Wayne Dyer says it, and Joe Dispenza certainly says it, where the focus goes, the energy flows. So even if you're like, oh, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about being broke. I'm not thinking about being broke. The more you talk about not thinking about being broke, the broker you're going to get because you're attracting more and more and more and more. You got to shift out of that because that, especially if that's been a drill you've allowed to roll through your mind for a really long time, is going to be a heavier lift. It can definitely go, but it's going to be a heavier lift if you've allowed that for such a long time. Okay, so we're talking about prosperity blockers. We had the is is the okay. This is the number one is not sort of getting it that abundance is infinite. That's the first one. The second one is worthiness, not believing that you're worthy of prosperity, abundance, and having all these great things land in your lap. And then the third one is that the third block to prosperity is busyness. Busy, B-U-S-Y dash ness. Because when we are flying around, just zooming around like gerbils on crack, we become far too distracted to notice the generous gifts being offered to us. I also sometimes like to call these breadcrumbs. I currently, I've officially launched my Mindcraft business. I've been doing the YouTubes for a few years and the podcast for a few years, and I had a blast doing it, and I have every intention of continuing that. And now it's started a Minecraft online course, so there's that. And this is something I'm just very, very conscious of because we want to make sure we're noticing the breadcrumbs or the smaller gifts. You think of them, because I think of the breadcrumbs leading to something bigger, right? Just like there's no such thing as a small win because small wins lead to big successes. So it's very important to me to be grateful for the breadcrumbs all the way along the way. Might lead to a crouton and then a bigger thing, right? So this is really, really important because if the busyness has taken over because we're having like maybe a compulsive need to fill our schedule up, and that's another podcast because there's a whole dynamic around that. The people who constantly need to have an over full schedule. That's definitely another podcast. Maybe I should write that down because it's a good idea. Um, anyways, that we're gonna be distracted, so we're not even noticing the universe, or God or source or the capital S, however you want to say, sent us a connection. We just didn't even hear the person. Oh, I got my cousin works at so and so, and I know they're looking for and we're just, oh, that's great. And we forget that like that could take the lead. We're not even hearing it, or a memo we don't see, or an email we don't see, or a message in the voicemail we don't get because we're too darn busy. So, we say too distracted to notice the generous gifts being offered to us, whether this is a new relationship, job opportunity, or a best-selling novel just dying to be written. And just like anyone else, when they are ignored, the universe, God's source, will find someone else to love this person, fill the new position, or write the novel. I love that. I know that Sarah Von Brednick in her book Simple Abundance, I mean, no, that's not it. Never mind. Retract. I'm thinking of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. She talks about that in there, where, God, source, however you want it. For me, it's God, call it the universe, call it whatever. Is looking again, like, let's say when J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter, she listened, she picked up the phone call, right? Otherwise, the universe would have kept rolling to the next person who wanted to write the amazing, best-selling series about wizards that, wowed the country and world. So if we're not paying attention, same thing is also for that the love of your life. If there's no room in the closet, you can't buy a new outfit. That's the whole thing. So, or new, position at work or whatever. You got to make room in that busy schedule. So then, lastly, there are some people who become overly focused on the prosperity of others. That's not good. Jealousy and envy gets us absolutely nowhere and just hurts the spirit. It makes the spirit very uncomfortable. And so this, jealousy, and even resentful if they're kind of hanging on to those negative emotions of jealousy and envy. So stop doing this, right? The prosperity of others is not our business, for one. And remember, again, there's no shortage of abundance. The fact that they're crushing it at work or crushing it in their relationship or both, and they're crushing it traveling all around, crushing it financially, and just bought a beach house on the Cape. Good for them. There's an infinite supply of all of it. So someone else's successes do not take away from us. That's so important. Someone else's success in all those ways, relationships, stuff, things, titles, finances, does not take away from us. So shifting ourselves away from the prosperity blockers and instead creating a prosperity mindset is about opening ourselves up and being receptive to universal abundance. This is key to a thriving lifestyle. Okay, now so what we're going to do to sum up, I actually have these mapped out. There are 10 of them, 10 sort of tips to develop the prosperity mindset. So we'll do a couple of them we're repeating. So the first one is to remind yourself that universal abundance is infinite. A great way to do this is to get a visual. Venture outside on a clear night. Gosh, in Vermont, we have crazy, beautiful nights with stars. And gaze out at the stars. Breathe deeply and really take this in. The vastness of our galaxy, the countless others beyond the Milky Way. This will remind us how what a grain of sand we are on the beach, and how abundance is just so much bigger than anything we can possibly imagine. The second one is accept that you deserve to prosper. It is our birthright to be happy and thrive in all ways possible. You do a lot of positive affirmations with that. You just say it out loud. I do say it out all frequently in the Jeep. Good things are happening today. I'm always, things always work out for me because they do. Might not be what it might not look like how I think it's going to look like, but it always works out for me. Number 3, jump off the wheel. As we've been conditioned by society to be human doings rather than human beings, right? This may take some effort. Become aware of your momentum and resist the urge to mindlessly spin around on autopilot. Choose to live deliberately. I'll tell you, there is no bigger thief of our valuable life minutes than autopilot. No bigger thief. And then 4 is create a vacuum. So to receive a gift, there must be room for it. Think about picture a little kid. Picture a small child digging a hole on the beach. Once they have created this space down by the water, it fills up with water. The universe works the same way. Create empty space and it will be filled up with abundance. Another example of that, Aaron Doughty's another influencer I like, though I haven't listened to him in a while. He talks a lot about he uses the example of new outfits and making room in the closet. So just use that as metaphorically related to if it's a relationship you want or your dream job or a big house or a gorgeous apartment on the other side of town where your friends are, whatever. He says, if you have a closet filled to the brim with all kinds of clothes, most of which you don't even know you have anymore, don't wear it. It's so packed you can't even see what you have to put on in the morning. And you want to get a new outfit. Well, it's not going to happen for you because you're not even appreciating what you already have, and also getting rid of what you don't want anymore. You got to make space for the new outfit to appear for you. So use that again for whatever example you'd like to. We got to make the room. Number 5, open your arms wide. Make this your daily practice. Swing your arms out to the side and proclaim with gratitude that you're open and receptive to the infinite abundance the universe has to offer. I will tell you, no joke, because I'm not wired for lies. I have a prayer routine every single morning, where Giovanni and I are up at the notch in the woods. I don't care who's looking. There's nobody up there, so I don't really. The deer are watching, moose are watching. Doesn't matter to me anyway. My arms are straight up, and I'm walking around. Every once in a while, I do a circle, and just bring it on. Just bring it on, God. If that's the universe for you, then that's totally fine. But arms up it's just another way to bring the body onto the stage. Bring the body onto the stage. Okay. 6, rejoice in the small. We first must learn to recognize prosperity before this become a habit And then a lifestyle. Oh, I definitely live a prosperity lifestyle. I was just thinking that in this minute. Notice the small doses of prosperity and say thank you. This is kind of like I was saying, this is what I was saying before about the breadcrumbs. Be each little breadcrumb, somebody makes a connection for you that you can then run with. So, whatever, just somebody just does this, does that, gives you a phone number, say thank you. This will attract more prosperity. 7, accept compliments. Even if this is uncomfortable for you, do it anyway. With practice, it will become easier. Compliments, a lot of people have trouble accepting compliments, and they'll look down, look around. Maybe they'll even interrupt the person or bring something else up to distract them away from the good things they're saying. A heartfelt compliment is like dumping organic miracle grow on your garden, because the brain needs patterns to figure out what to do. So if we're not used to the good feels, we maybe from our upbringing or whatever, and then we're used to not giving ourselves the good feels are going to be a really tough sell to the brain, which means that that's a big prosperity blocker too. So we've got to, accepting compliments is one step in the right direction, that we put a step, a deposit in the self-esteem bank. Look that person in the eye, let them finish what they're saying to you. Feel the good feels, let them in, and savor them while they're talking. Just meditatively. They don't have to, excuse me. They don't have to know what you're doing inside your mind. Just be fully attentive, bring it in, say thank you on the outside and say thank you on the inside, and let that become a pattern in your brain. 8, smile every day. It is amazing how many people are focused on becoming wealthy, yet they do not make it a priority to smile. Smiling tricks the brain into thinking it's happy. Happy attracts more happy. This is because of mirror neurons, too. Like, this is when we walk down the street. I've done this loads of times in my life. No matter where I am, it works. That's because all human beings, doesn't matter what color their skin is, where they come from, how much money they have, what religion they are, we're all human. And mirror neurons aren't aware of any of that external, all that demographic stuff. And when we smile, the world smiles back. And then some people don't. Some people look the other way, and too bad for them. And some people look down at the ground, too bad for them too. The more than 50% will smile back at you, which is just mirror neurons at work. Mirror neurons at work. 9, wish others well. I love this one. Rather than allowing ourselves to be sucked down the black hole of jealousy and resentment when we notice others prospering, wish them well silently in your head. Be happy for other people's successes. I don't think people realize. Many people don't realize what we do for other people, we do for ourselves. So even if you have this selfish intent, I'm going to wish them well because it's going to feel good for me, it's still a start. Ideally, we want to think about that person and just celebrate them, right? Though it's still a start. It's still a start because we're wishing somebody else well. And it's also pattern building, like we said with the brain. So getting a good habit of celebrating other people's successes. And then the last one is 3 things. So acquire a journal. We talked about this, and jot down 3 things you're grateful for each day when you wake up. Make sure to include the words I am grateful for. This is the only way that the pattern is going to happen. Okay, and then at the very end here, because maybe I was influenced by my husband because he's a Trekkie, he's a Trek head. At the end, it says, as Star Trek's Mr. Spock says, live long and prosper. Now, wasn't that a delightful conversation? I had a blast doing, when I was saying this, the last one, I love doing podcasts in general. It's probably why we're going strong. Actually, I think March, it's 4 years because I started it during the Rona, when the Rona, hit the world in 2020, and the world closed, and I was thinking, how am I going to support the Champlain College community that I love so much and I'm a part of? And our daughter Shani said, Mom, why don't you do a podcast? I'm like, are you nuts? I don't know how to turn the thing on. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And that was on a Saturday, I remember it. And she gave me the idea in the morning, and by that same Saturday afternoon, I had done my first very raw emphasis on raw episode. And now this March 2024 will be 4th year anniversary for the Mindcraft podcast. Yoo-hoo! Go us! Okay, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful Northern Vermont in November, stick season. Have a mindful day.